Okay, we're going to continue. The name of this chapter that we're on is Losing Patience. Megan leaned toward Alex during Actors Studio and whispered, "What do you suppose Mr. Today meant last Sunday when he said it wasn't his choice to..." Annoyed, Alex looked up from the original Apple Blossom script. "Perseus! Perseus!" He was trying to memorize his lines. Mr. Apple Blossom scurried onto stage, muttering in his typical rhyming manner, directing the actors who were in the current scene while the rest of the class sat in the auditorium, watching and going over their scripts. Lonnie and Samid were on stage in costume, flubbing up royally, Alex thought. Megan rolled her eyes. "I said, what could it mean that Mr. Today didn't choose to have the gate locked from the quill side? Doesn't Mr. Today have complete control over Arteme and all the spells that are in place? Couldn't he easily cast an illusion spell that would..." Alex let the script fall heavily into his lap. "How should I know? Why don't you ask your magical warrior instructor? I hardly know a thing about magic, as everyone here keeps reminding me." Flinching, Megan leaned away from him. "Gosh, Alex," she drew her lips into a pout. "Nobody's trying to rub it in. Honestly, why don't you ask Miss Octavia why she hasn't recommended you yet?" "No," Alex said a bit gruffly. He remembered the last time he'd asked, and how he'd vowed never to ask again. "Are you getting all of your required work done?" Alex stared at her. "Not at the moment," he said, and picked up his script again. His cue was coming up, and he wanted to be ready. He rose from his seat and pushed through the door that led backstage to the props table, grabbed his sword, a pair of winged sandals, and awaited his cue. Megan followed him as Mr. Apple Blossom set the on-stage actors in motion. "Alex," she whispered in the dimly lit hallway that led to the stage. "What now?" "We, all of us, especially Lonnie, are being horrible to me?" "Yes, Meg, I'm aware of that." Alex's words were icy cold. He ignored the twinge in his gut that told him to stop talking. "You all need to grow up, especially Lonnie." Alex slipped his feet into the sandals and buckled them. "That's not what I wish you had a shush button. Now be quiet, my cue's coming up," Alex said. He turned away to focus on the stage, a gleam in his eye. His sword gripped tightly in his hand. Megan glared at Alex's back for a moment, then turned and flounced back onto the auditorium, muttering, "We need to grow up. We need to grow up," under her breath. On cue, Alex entered stage left. Mr. Apple Blossom waved his hand and cast a spell on the winged sandals. The white, feathery wings flapped, and slowly Alex rose in the air. He concentrated to keep his balance as the sandals propelled him to center stage, where Lonnie, in a tremendously large headed costume, lay feigning asleep. Drawing his sword and holding it high, Alex projected his voice in a sinister tone. "Aha! You there, Medusa! Your snakes betray you! I come at the bequest of King Polydeuces, who has demanded your head on a platter." Feeling a bit reckless and pent-up, Alex ad-libbed, "I see it shall take several platters to hold it all." Lonnie glared, and with that, Alex shouted, "Have at you!" and brought down the sword upon the top of Lonnie's ornate costumed head, sending the squirming snake portions of the costume rolling across the stage and leaving Lonnie trembling. Whether she trembled in fear of the sword or as part of the act, Alex wasn't sure. He grinned wickedly. That felt good. Mr. Apple Blossom stood up in his chair and applauded wildly, a pencil and his well-worn script tucked under his arm. "Bravo, Perseus! Bravo, Medusa!" He stopped to scribble something. "That's it! Now arousing J.B. Sosa." He cued the brass band. Lonnie ripped off what remained of her costume, scrambled to her feet, and glared up at Alex, her hair flying about with static from the near suffocation of the Medusa head. Her eyes flashed. "You almost chopped my real head off, Alex! Watch it or I'll..." Alex was still flying about helplessly as he waited for the distracted Mr. Apple Blossom to release the spell on his sandals, glaring at Lonnie and spat back, "Or you'll what?" Lonnie whispered something under her breath. "Knock it off!" Alex yelled, but it was too late. She had cast a spell on him as he puttered around in the flying sandals. He felt his body harden to stone and tip sideways, then upside down in the air. The sandals flapped frantically, but could not hold his new stone weight, and he plunged off the stage, crashing and breaking into 1,000 pieces. The winged sandals flew about the room, still holding Alex's feet. "Not funny," Alex's mouth said from stage right. "Not funny at all." Still, everybody but Alex laughed, even as Mr. Apple Blossom scurried over to put Alex back together and hand out detentions. Once Mr. Apple Blossom had Alex back in one piece, flesh and bone rather than stone, he patted the boy on the back, chuckling merrily. You're as good as new, my boy. I'll have you know, perhaps, I'll write that bit into the show." Alex groaned. "Thanks. Things couldn't get much worse." All right, this is called A Big Mistake. The weather in Arteme was rarely gloomy and never too cold, though Mr. Today tossed in the occasional bit of rain or a thrilling thunderstorm to freshen things up and remind them all how much they preferred the pleasant sunshine. On the day that marked 6 months of Alex's time spent In Arteme, crisp breeze blew and the leaves on the trees were as brilliant purplish red. Weather like this never occurred in the dry desert land of Quill. Alex had grown tired of hiding in the room from his friends. He knew he was probably being unreasonable with them, but he just couldn't seem to deal with these days. His mind was so occupied with not being in magical warrior training, and the ache of missing his brother was stronger than he cared to admit, which no one else seemed to understand. So he took to the wandering the grounds to keep away from everyone. He ventured into the jungle a little further each day, hesitantly at first, but growing bolder at each attempt. There were many creatures of the jungle, but for the most part they greeted him politely and went about their business gathering nuts and roots and berries, stalking prey, feeding their young. Rarely did he witness anything that proved to be frightening. Though on several occasions he saw a huge gray wolf streaking off to find cover in the brush or resting on warm rocks near the seashore. It was almost as if the wolf were watching Alex, and the boy hoped he wouldn't become the wolf's next meal. Yet the animal never approached or threatened him in any way. So Alex felt fairly safe. Today the wolf was nowhere to be seen. Alex was quite fond of the cool darkness under the thick canopy of trees, and it was pleasing to find sparkling brook running through the jungle. There was one binary river back in Quill that the necessaries used for transporting equipment and broken down vehicles stranded around the community, and for delivering milk and eggs to the marketplace on large wooden rafts. But the stream here in Arteme was clear and cold, and Alex could see schools of fish now and then. On a particular boring Saturday, he trekked alongside it to see where it led, and found himself, after a good deal of walking, with an earshot of the gentle waves lapping the seashore in a sort of lagoon he'd never seen before. As he patted the bushes to make his way out of the jungle and onto the beach, he stopped abruptly, for there, floating in the water, was a large white boat glinting in the sunlight. He'd seen pictures of boats in the art books, but he'd never seen a real one before. "Wow," he whispered, looking at the gleaming golden seats and shiny chrome that ran around the perimeter. "You could fit 12 or 15 people on that." If he could have safely ventured out in the water to climb aboard, he would have. But Mr. Today had warned them. Like the large body of water, the sea contained carnivorous creatures like sharks, so he advised the students to swim only in the protected waters of the cove near the mansion, not quite depressed enough or desperate enough to lose a leg over it. Alex merely admired the boat from the shore. It didn't appear to be inhabited, with the soft waves the port side of the boat toward him. He saw the craft's name painted in sleek letters on the side. Claire, it read. "That's curious," Alex said, louder than before. "Curious, curious, curious." 3 platyprots echoed from the trees above. Alex looked up. "Who is it?" The platyprots looked that way and that and shrugged. "Who is it?" they said to one another before collapsing into fits of giggles. Alex, feeling overly sensitive and wondering if the creatures were mocking him, decided it was best for him to walk away in silence. He emerged from the jungle, surprised to see no one at all walking around the grounds. Had he missed a special dinner or a meeting? He shrugged, not really caring. He was getting used to being left out. Slowly, he followed the shoreline back to the mansion and slipped inside the enormous front entrance. The winged cheetah growled angrily. "Why aren't you in your room?" Alex stepped back in fright, for the statue had never addressed him personally before in the comings and goings. "I was out for a walk, that's all." Florence, the other statue, fired up a heated look at Cimber. "Alex," she said, and Alex startled again and whirled around to face her. He'd never heard her speak before. "We're under lockdown. Did you forget about the governor's semi-annual inspection today?" "What? I don't know what you're talking about." "Your blackboard has been informing you for weeks, and your warrior instructor gave out the warning and instructions yesterday," Florence said. "I don't have a warrior instructor," Alex said, and he was surprised to feel hot tears springing to his eyes. He blinked them out rapidly. "Oh," said Florence, her eyes narrowing, "so you're the one." Cimber hissed sharply at Florence. "What one?" Alex said, deeply confused now, and no longer knew what anyone was talking about. "Just go to your room. Don't come out until your blackboard tells you." The enormous stone cheetah turned his face again in disgust, which only made Alex feel worse, having still no idea why the two were so angry at him. "Go," said Florence, "before I let him eat you." Alex needed no further encouragement. He raced to the top of the stairs as fast as he could and shot down the hallway to his room. He was halfway there before he realized that at the top of the stairs he caught a sight of a hallway that he could have sworn hadn't been there in previous days. But now was not the time to check it out. He slipped into the rooms, unshushed, the volume on his blackboard, and sank into the overstuffed chair, still heaving from his wild sprints up the marble staircase. "Clive," he said to the blackboard, "what's going on around here?" Clive circused with a scowl. Ahemed several times to make sure his voice was truly back. "Oh, so now you want to talk? You shushed me for weeks, ignored my messages, and now that you've likely messed everything up, you ask for help? Well, I'm not inclined to give it. Besides, it's too late. Here comes Marcus, and boy, are you in trouble." Clive's features melted flat once again, and the screen brightened to show Mr. Today's face. He looked weary and angry, so far unlike the usual and humorous mage Alex knew, that for a moment Alex thought it might be someone else. The man's white hair stood up more wildly than ever as he tried recently to pull it out. "Thank you, Clive," Mr. Today said in a defeated voice. "All is well. No need to panic. They're gone." Alex sat up in the chair at the sight of Mr. Today, feeling an impending sense of doom. He hadn't seen the mage in weeks, for Alex had ceased attending the Sunday chats on the lawn. Mr. Today looked at Alex for a long moment. Alex swallowed hard. "Alex, please, just..." He searched for the right words. "I don't ask much of you. Just try to respect my few requests. And pay attention, please. I'm disabling Clive's shush button until further notice. It would be wise for you to catch up on what you've missed these past weeks, so you'll know what danger you put us all in." "Mr. Today, I'm sorry. I didn't understand." Mr. Today sighed. "When the governors come," Alex said, "I use a very complex spell that hides Artemis, so that this place looks just like it did when you first arrived. As Artemis grows and I grow older, it becomes harder for me to hold that spell flawlessly and still appear to be the man they expect me to be. It takes a lot of concentration, and I need everyone in the mansion remaining quite still during these times. Please, I know it's inevitable, but I'm not quite ready." He shook his head to clear his thoughts. "Listen, I'm counting on you. Don't fail me." Alex stared open-mouthed at the mage as the mage disappeared from the blackboard, and something deep inside of him, deeper than he thought anything could ever be, quivered and broke into tiny pins that stuck into his gut. Okay, we're going to read one more chapter because the next chapter is really short, and that should put us pretty far. So this is called Secrets and Secret Places. By morning, all of Artemis knew that Alex Stowe was the one who had gotten them almost discovered and killed. If Alex or anyone was anywhere inside the world of Artemis, he probably wouldn't have been detected by the governors, who merely saw the same desolate scene that the Unwanteds had seen when they first trudged through the Black Iron Gate. But Mr. Today was not usually one to take chances when it came to protecting the world, and it had been the standard protocol during all binarial government inspections since the beginning of Artemis to place all the citizens on lockdown inside their magically hidden rooms. Mr. Today, despite his creativity, was a man of order, and he liked everyone to be in the proper places and not roaming. For what if the spell broke? What if a chaotic fight broke out in the lounge or in the theater? Or a student wandered off and was attacked in the jungle and Mr. Today was unavailable to handle the situation? Nope, it was safest for him to know and be assured that every person was domesticated. Every person and domesticated creature was secured in their appropriate place during the stressful half-day visit. All the people and creatures that did follow the instructions would, of course, be very upset with the one who didn't. And so when word got out that it was Alex Stowe who had seemingly defied their dear and faithful leader, and that it was Alex Stowe who had put them all in danger, no one could muster up an ounce of pity for him. Megan thought she had been furious early on, trying to swallow her anger when she talked to Alex at lunch, and Lonnie sent him pitying glances from her soulless blue eyes. By then, Alex was so utterly mortified by all of the harsh looks and pointing fingers and whispers in the cupped hands that he weaseled his way out of the dining room the first chance he got, closed himself in the room for the rest of the day, and skipped his private lessons with Octavia, as well as actor's studio with Mr. Appleblossom, even though it meant missing his star performance in Perseus. Alex went into the bedroom, shut the door so he could partially block out Clive's endless yapping, and curled up in the bed, pinching his eyes shut to stop the headache that stabbed at him. In and out he breathed, wishing with all his might that he could just go back to Quill, where he would have expectations or dreams or hopes or imagination or